The mayor promised repeatedly throughout his campaign that he would not raise property taxes on Chicagoans. Now, 2 budget cycles into his first term, he has to go back on that promise, proposing a $300 million hike. Under the mayor's proposal, the owner of a $250,000 property would pay $222 more per year. The proposal would cost the owner of a $500,000 property $481 more. The mayor unveiled his 2025 spending plan before City Council today, saying he didn't come to this decision lightly.
This is tough. It is. It is something that I grappled with for weeks and weeks.
Without the hike, the mayor says he would have had to lay off 17% of the city's workforce, including first responders. He says he would have preferred a surcharge on millionaires and a statewide progressive income tax, both of which failed to garner support as voter referenda.
Here's what we're left with. Do we lay people off and cut services? Or do we make sure that our neighbors have jobs and that we can continue to make the critical investments?
The proposal hit with a thud, with even longtime mayoral allies saying they couldn't yet support it.
Property tax increase is a regressive taxation. I think that's something that we cannot afford, I think, in communities like ours.
Maybe there's a fair version of this, but I talked to countless residents who can't afford what we're talking about today.
Longtime opponents say they don't like the tax hike and claim the budget relies on shrinking the Chicago Police Department, eliminating 400 vacant positions.
He's not listening to the residents, and it's clear that the number one investment that taxpayers want to see on their tax dollar is public safety, and they're already paying for it.
The mayor plans to increase spending $530 million over last year and rely on a $131 million one-time TIF surplus to help put it in balance. The budget is now in the hands of alder people who will hold hearings over the next month or two before a final vote where 26 votes will be needed to pass this into law.
We're not expecting a Harris appearance, but she was here yesterday and she made a couple stops across the city before holding a rally last night. She told voters in Philly that if they want her to win, they have to show up at the polls.
So Philly, we have 9 days to get this done. And for the next 9 days, no one can sit on the sidelines. There is too much on the line, and we must not wake up the day after the election and have any regrets about what we could have done in these next 9 days.
Former President Trump held a rally at Penn State over the weekend. No big names there, but he was joined by Elon Musk, Hulk Hogan, and Lee Greenwood at a rally in Madison Square Garden yesterday. Now, nearly 1.4 million people have submitted their ballots here in Pennsylvania, but in Lancaster County, about 60 miles away from here, officials are investigating around 2,500 voter registration forms that were flagged for potential fraud. Secretary of State Al Schmidt says some indicators of fraud were inaccuracies with addresses and false identification on applications.
This is a sign that the built-in safeguards in our voter registration process are working. We still don't have a lot of details about these applications, so it's important we not rush to judgment. We hope for a speedy and accurate conclusion to the investigation.
The suspected fraudulent applications did not benefit one particular political party, and they were dropped off at various locations across the county. In Philadelphia, Kaylee Schuyler, Fox 32 Chicago.
Haley, well, there are dueling political rallies in southern Wisconsin today. Representative J.D. Vance will be in Wausau this afternoon before visiting Racine tonight, and Governor Tim Walz visiting a couple of places, including Waukesha. He spent today urging voters to head to the polls and calling for change.
We got a chance to turn a page here. Elect a new generation of leadership, not a nearly 80-year-old man screaming at clouds every day, but a new generation. Chart a new way forward. We got 8 days. We got 8 days to go on this.
In the meantime, during Vance's visit in Wausau, he responded to comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's controversial joke, calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. He made the comments during Trump's rally yesterday in New York. Vance is calling that reaction overblown.
Maybe it's a stupid racist joke, as you said. Maybe it's not. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the joke. But I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
Latinos from both parties have called the comments offensive and derogatory. A senior advisor with the Trump campaign says the joke does not reflect the views of Trump or the campaign.
This is a major update to a case that has stoked fear and concern in Chicago's Jewish community. Police say they do believe the suspect was acting alone, but tell us they now have evidence to prove he was planning this attack and intended to harm more than just one person.
This shooting is deeply personal to members of our Jewish community. We know that. But this shooting should be personal to everyone across the city.
When medics rushed to the 6800 block of North Washtenaw Avenue last Saturday morning to treat a 39-year-old man who was targeted, shot in the shoulder walking to synagogue, police say first responders were ambushed by the suspect who'd returned to the scene of the crime.
Since the shooting occurred, our investigative response team has worked their fingers to the bone to determine a motive.
The incident leaving the Jewish community shaken. Superintendent Larry Snelling says he cannot say enough about the officers who engaged in a shootout with the suspect, 22-year-old Sidi Mohammed Abdullahi.
And stopped him from taking lives.
Because of his injuries, police haven't been able to interview Abdullahi, but they did find a digital trail.
Evidence from the offender's phone indicated he planned the shooting and specifically targeted people of Jewish faith.
It is not only heinous, it is wicked.
On top of attempted murder charges, among others, the evidence was enough to bring on 2 more, hate crime and terrorism, bringing the total number of felony charges to 16.
As a husband and as a father, it grieves me and it breaks my heart knowing that our Jewish community doesn't feel safe and secure in our beloved city. And just as I want for my family, I want for the families of our Jewish community.
Officials standing united that hate will not be tolerated and will be brought to the fullest extent of justice.
I do just want to say one thing about the Jewish community. We are a strong, united, resilient community, and we will remain that way.
And we are looking into information that the suspect is not originally from the United States, but instead came here from West Africa within the last 2 years. We have reached out to ICE and are awaiting confirmation. Meantime, that suspect's first court date is next Thursday.
Well, really, Sylvia, Reverend Mitchell Johnson was only on the job for 7 days, long enough to have one board meeting. He announced his resignation today after that torrent of social media posts were uncovered expressing anti-Semitic views, 9/11 truther views, and misogyny. Now, last night, Mayor Johnson defended his pick to lead the school board, saying that he had apologized.
I know he's going to continue to work and sit down with Jewish leaders in the city of Chicago and beyond to begin to work towards restoration and healing.
A much different story. In a statement today, the mayor says, quote, Reverend Mitchell Johnson's statements were not only hurtful but deeply disturbing. I want to be clear, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, and conspiratorial statements are unacceptable. My administration is committed to upholding the mission of transforming our public education system. It has become clear that his continued participation in the board would hinder the important work we need to accomplish for our schools. We will proceed promptly to identify a qualified individual who shares our dedication to educational excellence and will serve with an unwavering commitment to the values we hold dear. Now, this resignation comes on the heels of Governor Pritzker's request that he stand down, as well as a supermajority of city council members. It adds to the self-inflicted turmoil at the top of CPS as Johnson came in with the mayor's new school board appointees. This is after the previous board resigned after refusing to bow to pressure to fire CEO Pedro Martinez. Earlier this afternoon, I spoke with 2 alders who concurred it was time for Johnson to go.
I do believe that Mr. Johnson, his views are not in touch with the reality and where many Chicagoans are.
He should have never been hired. Once you go through a simple Google search, all these things would have popped up. So he was not properly vetted. And the mayor has several people in his administration, like Kennedy Bartley and other people, who have the same mindset. So I have to start questioning, why are we hiring all these same people that have the same mindset that you see. I mean, and the mayor said those aren't his views, but you're supporting and you're perpetuating these type of views.
And a sense of relief from Jewish groups. The American Jewish Committee says, quote, "We are grateful for leaders like Governor Pritzker, who called on Reverend Johnson to resign following revelations of several anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and pro-Hamas messages on social media. We are alarmed that Chicago's mayor appointed someone with such a clear track record of hate in the first place and urged stricter vetting processes moving forward." And you can catch my full interview with the alders on Paris on Politics tonight at 9:30. We'll go into the property tax hike proposal and all you need to know about Tuesday's election. And back to the board, they are scheduled to meet tomorrow as Mayor Johnson goes on the search for yet another board chairman.
Okay, the White Sox now in rebuild mode. It all starts with naming a new manager. The team officially introducing Will Venable today. Lou is here with more.
All right, Scott, White Sox are getting high marks around baseball for their hiring of Will Venable as manager. 9-year outfielder, worked alongside former Cubs president Theo Epstein, coached first and third base for the Cubs, learned from some of baseball's best managers on the bench. Venable turned down opportunities with the Mets and Guardians last year, Marlins this year for this White Sox job.
When his days were finished as a player, he jumped right into the front office. Worked his way up the coaching ranks, worked under some tremendous, potentially future Hall of Famers and Alex Cora and Bruce Bochy. And now to bring such a talented person, someone that's so well coveted around the league to lead our organization is nothing short of outstanding and exciting for me and others in the organization.
It was really a hard decision to leave, to be honest. When you're in a place like that with those kind of people, it's really challenging. And it was only because I felt so confident about this opportunity and the people in this organization that I was, confident about making that move.
White Sox have had 4 managers the last 3 seasons, 6 since Ozzie left back in 2011. Here's hoping Venable brings some stability to the White Sox in a World Series as well.
Parents did not shy away from expressing how they feel. The superintendent apologized for the anguish this announcement has caused and says the board is going back to the drawing board. During an Evanston-Skokie District 65 board meeting that reached capacity.
The house is on fire and you're talking about remodeling the kitchen.
Community members and parents of 7th and 8th grade students expressed anger and sadness, noting the impact that changing schools would have on their kids during critical educational years.
If I were to describe to you the past 2 weeks of our lives, it would be full of frustration, anger, hurt, and sleepless nights.
Dr. Bessie Rhodes School of Global Studies is slated to close after the 2025-26 school year. But to the surprise of families, they were notified this month that a staffing shortage would mean 7th and 8th grade classrooms are shutting down mid-November.
And let's be clear, the situation is that we simply need 3 teachers. A math teacher, a science teacher, and a Spanish teacher. I don't call that a teacher shortage.
Making the situation more complicated, the teachers union, called the District 65 Educators Council, is demanding a new contract. A rally was held before Monday's meeting.
Now it's time to be fair. We teach, we care.
Inside, board members, including Superintendent Angel Turner, apologizing for the way they've handled the situation.
We know that we have continued to perpetuate harm to a community that has already been through so much. And I am deeply sorry.
Turner outlined a series of options that they will be discussing and says she plans to weigh parents' input. One option is to keep 7th and 8th grade students at Bessie Rhodes under a modified staffing plan, which would eliminate some classes. A final decision is expected by next week.
Halloween's great here in LaGrange Park.
2013.
That's the first year we did it. Jay Olson, design architect, painter, builder, project manager.
Dana Olson. So I do more of the costumes.
They're so beautiful, like in chromatic.
The wigs. Hey, are you thinking about the Halloween display? And you're like, oh gosh.
My name is Eileen Olson. My role is emotional support and as an assistant, and I feed everyone.
Figuring out what we're gonna do, that's always a fun part, is just collaborating.
I just want to know why they started doing this.
It has to be a body of work. It can't just be like a one-hit wonder. It has to be someone that we all seem to agree is a substantial artist. The other thing is that the cover art has to have like a figure in it, to use a skeleton. It started with the Oingo Boingo album, Dead Man's Party.
My favorite one was Breakfast in America from a few years ago. Perfectly executed.
And the B-52s
I was
one
going to
was
say
great.
the B-52s was great.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Pearl Jam.
Madness, One Step Beyond.
Our house in the middle of the street.
Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here.
How I wish you were here.
Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. He made this amazing motorcycle.
I can see paradise by the dashboard light.
It was always fun to have the dialogue with the neighbors. So our immediate neighbors really loved it right from the get-go.
These guys we put out this year to watch the scene unfold.
That this year we decided to do a little different, a little bit more of a, and this is one's bigger than last time. I gotta put a stake in the ground.
8-foot tall skeleton is the most over the top piece. There's no pants that really fit an 8-foot tall skeleton with a really tiny frame. We have to kind of cut up the wig a bit because his head doesn't fit a normal size wig. It's more of we really enjoy it, and we've had more fun doing it than anything else, but we just keep having fun with it every year, and so we just keep making it bigger and bigger each time.
It was the first album cover that I purchased with my own babysitting money.
John! It's Elton John. Like, who puts Elton John on their lawn for Halloween? I have to see what this is about. This is great.
Elton John. Yes? So creative.
Elton John.
Elton. Our block, our neighborhood really enjoys it. With this block, the next block, and there's a bunch of people over there that really get into it, and they've expressed that to us. And so, I mean, we can't stop now.
Every year for over a decade, Jay has been putting up album covers and hit on the whole block every year.
In the past couple of years, you know, I'm torn whether make it easy or make it hard.
This one, in terms of difficulty, it's one of the easier ones. It was very obvious, I think, to anyone who likes Elton John at all. But artistically, one of the best ones, I think. This one, I think he really outdid himself. It's a work of art. We love it.
But the neighborhood really enjoys the creativity that goes into it.
And it's just a fun art project that I can do with my dad, and I think that's what I enjoy most about it.
Just in time for Halloween, the Field Museum's famous collection of ancient Egyptian mummies is revealing some new secrets, thanks to some new technology.
Oftentimes we see popular culture mummies are very spooky, scary, in tattered, toilet paper-like wrappings. But what our goal here is to be able to look inside of the wrappings and inside of the coffins.
Last month, the Field began virtually unwrapping 23 of its mummies using a CT scanner that looks at more than just the bones.
What CT scanning gives you is a complete view of the individual in 3 dimensions, from the exterior all the way through to the interior.
The mummies had never been CT scanned before because of the popularity of the ancient Egyptian exhibit and because getting those fragile remains to a hospital is tricky and expensive.
So if the mummies can't go to the scanner, what we can do is bring the scanner to the mummies.
Which is what they did last month, bringing a CT scanner inside a truck to the parking lot outside the field. And the results so far are amazing, showing soft tissue details never seen before and helping the field learn about who they have rather than what they have.
These are people. They lived lives, had families, had names, and we are using these scans to learn more about those individuals and the experiences they may have had.
The youngest mummy scanned is 2,200 years old. The oldest lived 5,500 years ago. The curators here say with all this new data, they'll soon be able to give visitors a much clearer picture of who these people were, how they lived, and how they died.
With this information, we're going to be able to tell visitors a lot more about who these people were as individuals, which I think is going to be super interesting.
And there was so much new data developed by the CT scans that the experts here at the field say it's going to take years to pore over all of it and figure it out. Luckily, the mummies, they're not going anywhere, especially on Halloween.
Consumer watchdog group says People's Gas customers will see record-breaking rate hikes unless state regulators get involved. The nonprofit Citizens Utility Board, or CUB, issuing a report saying the price of People's Gas pipeline replacement program has spiraled upward and is warning customers that they are going to be the ones paying for it until the year 2100.
The company would need to average a record-breaking rate hike for 15 straight years. That would double the annual charges for the average customer from about $1,200 to $2,400 by 2040.
CUB says state regulators need to put wise safeguards on the utilities spending. People's Gas issued a statement in response saying CUB's claims are false, adding, quote, at the same time CUB is claiming to care about affordability, it is fully supporting measures that would force Chicagoans to go all electric, a move that would double or triple heating bills.
Each age group of eligible voters has some different concerns that are the most important to them. And for Gen Z, it is affordable housing. Here to tell us more about some of the issues they're facing is Catherine Watt, a housing reporter with CNET. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Why exactly is Gen Z so concerned about being able to afford housing?
Yeah, I think it might come as a surprise to see that over 90% of Gen Z thinks housing affordability is their top voting concern. But I think it's because housing is typically our biggest expense and it affects our day-to-day lives. It affects our ability to build long-term wealth. So I think Gen Z witnessing all of the struggles in the housing market on top of ongoing struggles with inflation, student debt, the high cost of living, low starting salaries, they're just starting out in the workforce. It makes it feel like buying a home one day is going to be impossible.
Tell us a little bit about this recent CNET mortgage rate survey. What were some of the most interesting findings there in that survey?
Yeah, so the survey found that only 4% of Americans would consider buying a home at a 6% rate. And we might not even get rates that low by the end of the year. We still have to see. So I think it just points again to the broader housing affordability crisis. Also, interestingly, 29% said that there's no mortgage rate that would allow them to buy a home. And that just tells us that it's not just mortgage rates. There's also high home prices, limited inventory, and again, other economic struggles that are keeping people out. So it's just creating a sense of apathy, a sense of pessimism, not just with younger voters, but across all generations.
Now, we do know that the Fed recently cut interest rates to hopefully make the home buying process a little bit easier for some families. But this segment is kind of about what do you feel like the presidential election will mean for housing affordability? Would that give any hope to people maybe looking to achieve the American dream and finally buy that home?
Right. So housing affordability, as we've said, is a key issue in this election. We've heard both candidates have proposals for how they plan to lower housing costs. And I think it's great that they're both talking about it. It's been a long-running issue in this country. But as we all know, there are campaign promises, and then there's policies, and then there's implementation. And not only do we not know the timeline of what that would look like, we don't know how it's going to play out on a local and state government level, which, where land usage laws, zoning laws are actually determined. But it is exciting to see that as a main topic in the election.
Now, if there is somebody in Gen Z who still wants to maybe try to buy a home 6 months to a year down the line, are there one or two things that they can do to kind of at least help put them in position to do so if those rates come down even more?
Yeah, of course. So we can't time the market, but you can focus on things like paying down debt, building your credit score. Higher credit score is going to help you get a lower mortgage rate. And also the Fed has cut rates, but only one time. So you're still seeing higher APYs on high yield savings accounts and CDs. So if you have a longer time horizon for when you're buying a home, you can still take advantage of that compounding interest on your savings. And with home prices so high, getting a bigger down payment is only going to help you because you can take out a smaller loan, and that's going to save you money in the long run.
In the days following the 2020 election, Georgia became the center of a firestorm after Donald Trump's now infamous phone call to the Secretary of State asking to find him more votes. Now in 2024, Georgia is again in the spotlight as Republicans have tied up the courts in litigation ahead of next Tuesday's election. We want to bring in former Chicago area reporter Bill Torpy, who works now as a contributor to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, for more on what's happening on the ground. Bill, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a thrill as a Chicago native to be on the station that brought us Bengali.
Hey, it's great to have you. You've described the legal battle currently going on in Georgia as a framework for Donald Trump to chip away at the election. Let our viewers know what's going on in Georgia.
Well, I think what happened after the election in 2020 here is now happening before the election, is that a lot of the MAGA machinery is trying to put in place a way to make the election seem like it's fraudulent if there is a close election, if Donald Trump, that is, loses in the vote. So they're trying to set up a framework, a legal framework to get what they want to do.
Bill, one of the things we're hearing is that we are probably not going to know the outcome of this, perhaps for days after next Tuesday. Is one of the issues in Georgia the debate over whether or not ballots will be counted by hand versus machine? Where are we on that front?
Well, they will be counted by machine, as they have been for years. What there was a battle, and it has, I think, been settled by the courts, is that the election board wanted to set it up so that they can count them that night and at the precincts. They wouldn't be counting who is winner, but they would just be counting to see if indeed there are the same amount of votes on the paper ballots as there are on the machine. And that is basically what they're trying to do, in my mind, is to make it that sometimes there's a number that is off, maybe a couple numbers, just by a tiny bit, but they want to see if they can then use that as a basis to claim that there's been fraud and then bring it forward further that way.
Bill, you've reported that Georgia may not be quite as purple as a lot of us think. Are Republicans going to come out in bigger numbers this time around?
It seems like they are. The early votes are showing that they are. But I think what is happening now is everybody's mind is made up. It's just a matter of getting your troops out to the polls. So it's a ground game matter right now. I have a son that has gotten about 6 or 8 pieces of mail urging him to vote. For some reason, they haven't asked me to vote, but both the Democrats and the Republicans are pushing hard to get bodies to the polls.
And we know that Trump and Governor Kemp are hardly on speed dial these days. How important is this fractured relationship going into next Tuesday?
It's been soothed a little bit, I think. They really were far apart, and I know neither of them care for each other very much. But I think that in the recent months, Kemp has been supporting him verbally, and he knows that if he wants a political future, he needs the MAGA voting bloc behind him. So it's the reality of the Republican world right now. You have to kiss the ring, so to speak.
Okay, well, we have a cuteness overload here is what we have. We're in Riverside at Riverside Presbyterian Church where they are starting their Halloween parade. Look at these 3, 4, and 5-year-olds decked out for trick or treat. How cute are they? Oh, wait, I see a familiar face. Olive? Hey, step over here for a minute. You recognize this little girl? We hear about her a lot on the news because I found her mom over here.
Hi, how are you? Happy Halloween!
So, Natalie, I know you are like super mom. This must be one of the most fun days for you.
We've waited all year for this one day. In fact, we've talked about it every day, of the year.
And she has already blown you off because the candy, after all, is over there. So you got Ed here passing out treats. What do you got there, Ed?
Some flashy necklaces.
Yeah. From his own collection at home.
Yes, these are my own personal collection.
Very nice. So not just candy over here. But yeah, this is just such a great day for parents, right? How cute.
So cute. I look forward to it. Well, I have the last 2 years. She'll be in kindergarten next year, but look at the cute costumes and how original. Look at that spider with all the eyes.
I know. I love all the eyeballs. Absolutely. I see an Elsa in the crowd, a skeleton. And the parents are taking part. All of the parents are lined up along the hallways here at the preschool, and they're the ones handing out the candy. So they'd hoped to do it outside, but you know what? You got a rainy day, you go to Plan B, and it's working out just great. I have another dad with me. This is Brian Mack. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I know you have a couple of trick-or-treaters. Did your son go by yet?
He did already, yeah. He was right in the front of the line.
Yeah. And so what is it? And this is your daughter?
Yeah, this is Daniela.
So just tell me how fun it is to take part in a Halloween parade. Did you take the day off for this?
I did. The kids are so excited about Halloween. They've been talking about it for a month, and this town is really the perfect place to be celebrating.
Yeah. These costumes are amazing. Everybody loves your costume. And what are you?
I'm a police officer.
Yes, a very convincing police officer. How about you?
Charizard.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And I know who you are. You're Princess Elsa. Oh, beautiful. Don't you love that hair? So many great mummies. We got a globe here, a kitty cat. Does it get any better than this? So next hour, this is like going to be a whole fun day here, at least a fun morning for these preschoolers because they're going to take part in some arts and crafts and all the fun Halloween stuff and hopefully fill these bags up with some candies and other treats. Oh, and we're going to rounding up the back here, a Viking. Nice costume.
You want to get some candy?
Very cute. Okay, so we'll check back next hour. Does it get cuter?
He was my first foster. The last parents found him unnerving.
What do you know about this farmhouse that he keeps drawing?
I never realized that.
Suffering from hallucinations, repeated expulsions from schools. I'm starting to feel like there's a reason he found me. I have a game for you. Put your block right in the middle. Now you say something that makes you mad.
People who do bad things.
What kind of bad things?
You know what you did.
I'm having a moment here because I've never seen this gear out of Billy Crystal. He's known for making us laugh. Now comedian Billy Crystal getting serious in his new series, and Jake had the chance to talk with Mr. Billy Crystal about this.
He's really good, but it's also not necessarily a surprise. So Billy Crystal stars, it's this new Apple TV Plus series. It's called Before. It's about a child psychologist who comes across a young boy who is, to put it lightly, a bit on the darker side. And that's when things start getting a little creepy. Now, it might seem strange to see Billy Crystal in such a dark role, but if you think about it, some of the greatest dramatic actors of all time got their start in comedy. You look at Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, Jim Carrey. So when I spoke with Billy, I wanted to know if comedians just possess something internally that make them so good at being dramatic actors. I feel like some of the greatest dramatic actors of all time started in comedy. Obviously, the great Robin Williams and Tom Hanks and Jim Carrey. But I'm sort of curious, is there something that all comedians share that make them such great dramatic actors, or are all of your experiences wildly different?
Everyone's different. I mean, role model I always had was the great Jack Lemmon. And Jack could do everything from Some Like It Hot, and then he'd break your heart in the Days of Wine and Roses. You know, he'd be hilarious in Mr. Roberts. And then, you know, he could do anything. So I think actors are actors. I don't think, you know, it's different because you've seen us do stand-up. We're actors, you know.
Is there a movie character you've played in your career that you wish you had this kind of time with, that maybe you enjoyed for that 2 hours, but if you'd had Eli time, you could have fleshed him out and got to know him maybe even a little bit more?
No, I think, you know, they all, the other ones are all, you know, it's, you have different amount of time, you know. It's all in the shooting of it. You'll see this over 10 episodes. All the other ones, you know, you spend the time in pre-production getting it right and playing them. This is the most complicated of them. He needs more time than the others.
We're going to have more from Billy Crystal coming up in the next hour of Good Day Chicago, before streaming now on Apple TV+. In the next hour, we're going to talk about the 35th anniversary of a little film he did called When Harry Met Sally.
Ah, yes.
And of course, there's a scene from
Which
that
one
movie
could you be talking about,
that people
Jake?
know that we can only air like 8 seconds of because it's 8:56 in the morning.
Yeah, we don't want to hear from the FCC, right?
Exactly right.
Jake, thank you
Thanks,
very
buddy.
much.
Guys, what better place to talk about Harry Potter than, of course, the University of Chicago? We're in the Rockefeller Memorial Chapel, and we're talking about the wand dance. I'm with Jennifer. You are the movement captain for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I watched the show. Amazing at the Niederlander. Let's talk about, well, actually, first, is it your first time at the University of Chicago?
It is, and it is spectacular here.
Does it remind you of a certain place?
This looks like Hogwarts. It's amazing.
It's what everyone says. Let's talk about why you're here, because you have a special group coming a little bit later, and you're going to show them a little bit of the moves from the play.
We are. Would you like to learn a little bit of it?
I would.
Okay, first things first, you have to know that it goes, usually we count 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Gotcha.
Are you ready for that?
I'm not a dancer, so you know what? I don't even have the first part learned.
You're going to be amazing. Okay, so the wand is attacking you.
Okay, and this is what people are going to learn.
This is what they're learning
here at
today.
University of Chicago.
So the wand's it's attacking you, and you are in charge of the wand, so you're going to win. So the wand comes at you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ready?
Okay.
I'll count in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Ooh, okay. Do you think students are going to be able to do it? I think so. I could do it.
They're going to crush it. We're going to have a good time.
I like how in the show, it's not a musical, right? But there's still a lot of movement, and the movement is purposeful.
The movement in the show is spectacular. Stephen Hoggett, the choreographer, is just an unbelievable human and unbelievable at what he does. Truly a genius. So the movement in the show is almost pedestrian, but every cape swish, everything that you see, it appears, it disappears, it's all intentional. So it's really run like a musical, but it's a play.
We have Simon behind us. He's your assistant. Thank you for joining us, Simon. How does it feel for you guys to be able to come into the community, a place like University in Chicago, and be immersed, right? Talk to these people who are coming to the Niederlander to see you.
Honestly, it is such a gift. We have been so welcomed by everyone in Chicago. It's just been brilliant. And to take the show across the country and to launch it here in Chicago is just spectacular.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it's only for University of Chicago students, and it's starting here soon, so you won't be able to take part, but you can watch the show at the Niederlander until February 1st. I watched it. I loved it. All right, we got to toss to break. So we'll see you right back, Chicago.
Ready?
Wizzo!
People are coming from all over to play this game. Michigan, Indiana, even Wisconsin. And I've got good news for you. The Queen of Hearts is still on the board. That means you have a chance to take home more than $900,000 with the jackpot nearing $2 million.
Here we go. 12 blue winners tonight.
Oh, this is so exciting. So exciting. I think it's better than the lottery.
Here's how it works. You pay $5 per ticket. If your ticket is pulled and you identify the Queen of Hearts, you take home 50% of the jackpot, which currently is more than $1.7 million. For you, an extra $900,000 in your pocket.
I've been investing for a while.
Okay. Well, how long is a while?
Well, at least a couple months.
Okay, that's cool. More than 60,000 tickets were sold this week alone. 40% of funds raised support various organizations, including food banks and other efforts.
Money goes to support veterans, opportunities all around the area, not only in the McHenry County area.
Raquel Sandoval has played for 3 weeks. If she wins, she wants to take the family on vacation. If you win the money, are you going to jump up and scream? Are you going to quietly walk out? What are you going to do?
I don't know. I'll probably jump. I'll probably jump and scream.
8, 9.
First up, the blue ticket 50-50 raffle. 12 players taking home $495 each. And then for the big game.
Nothing else. The ace of diamonds. The ace of diamonds.
No winners yet. The Queen of Hearts still hiding. Players now even more anxious with a greater jackpot next week. If you win, will you remember myself and my cameraman, Rafael?
Of course I will.
Okay, we want more than $5.
My name's Al.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And they've been playing the game since 2016, donating more than $1 million, even over the last 4 years, to various efforts. The Queen of Hearts game will return next Wednesday right here to the VFW Post 460.
It's Gotham City here at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago. The bat signal is shining bright, and I've got CEO Dr. Mike with me here. Tell me about these amazing creatures.
So we are in here with our Rodriguez fruit bats. Fantastic animal. Not everybody's a fan of bats, but they truly are just an amazing animal to work with. And these are fruit bats. So there's multiple different species of fruit bats in Southeast Asia, Africa, Australia area, much larger than the bats we find here in North America. So the largest of those types of fruit bats can actually get up to several pounds and a wingspan of almost 5 to 6 feet. So very large animals, but entirely harmless. Fruit-eating animals in the wild. They play a huge role in pollination between plants and really neat animals.
Are they endangered at all?
So several of the species are, just due to loss of habitat, hunting, illegal poaching of bats, those types of things. Here in North America, with our smaller bats that we've got here in the United States, they're insectivorous, so they eat our insects. They play a huge role in just maintaining healthy ecosystems by keeping insect populations down. But our bats here are being faced with a different threat, which is actually an organism that causes what we call white nose syndrome in bats. And it's a fungus that thrives in caves and colonies where bats live, and it's had just devastating effects on bat populations here in North America over the last decade. And so we're running the risk of losing a lot of our bats in this country due to that pathogen.
Interesting, I'd never heard that. And they're so unique because they have great eyesight, right? And tell me about their wings too.
Yeah, so totally adapted for flying. They're the only true mammal that can fly. And their wings are actually just modified finger bones, essentially. So if you think of us with really long extended fingers, this is basically the bat wing that you're looking at. And then bats here in North America, many of those insect-eating bat species also have the ability to echolocate. So they use that sonar and within milliseconds are able to identify a moth flying through the air, locate where it's at, fly in on it, hit it, swoop it, kind of tuck it up in their folds, and then pop it up into their mouth, all while still in flight.
And you can see them where at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago?
So we're here in the Australia house with our Rodriguez fruit bats.
All right, and I'm going to be on my way. There's a reason that Dr. Mike is standing closest to them, but you come see them all you want here at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago.
Welcome back. It is 8:26, so we are just days away from the start of the holiday season, if you can believe it. And that means we are so close to the big flip when 93.9 Light FM switches to all holiday music all the time. And the station is giving listeners a chance to win $1,000 if they can guess correctly when the holiday music officially starts. So joining us is Melissa Foreman from 93.9 Light FM. This is the morning show host. Good morning. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, of course. I'm going to call you Caitlyn Christmas from now on.
I am Caitlyn Christmas. I will not turn it off if I hear Christmas music in July. I'm that person.
You know what? There's a lot of you, and it's all good by us. We love it.
You know, it's happy, right? Okay, so tell us about this contest and how it works.
Okay, so you have just until tonight, 11:59, to guess when you think we are going to be going full Christmas. Okay, 11:59. So plenty of time today to hop online. The person who gets closest to the date and time will then be qualified for $1,000. So imagine all the shopping you can do. It's super fun. Then tomorrow at 8:20, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Queen of Christmas herself, Mariah Carey, is going to be on our show.
No, she's
and
not.
She will help. Yes, she is. I know. I'm dying too, Caitlin. I can't believe this. But she's going to help us make the announcement on when we will officially flip to Christmas.
Is it going to be her song first, of course? Maybe.
They haven't told me a thing.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know yet. I'm hoping.
Well, sooner rather than later would make me happy. Okay, so what are some of the holiday music favorites people ask for outside of Mariah, of course?
Oh, I mean, you know what? You can't really pick because everybody has that one favorite that their family loved or that you grew up with.
Yes.
But it runs the gamut. I mean, all I want for Christmas, no matter how you try to say, like, I don't want to hear that again. You can't not hear it because everybody loves that song. They really do.
All I want for Christmas. People at home are probably just shaking their heads. I know. Is you. Can you give us any hints about when we're going to start? Is this a trick question? We're actually going to start Christmas music like in an hour from now?
That would be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
They try not to tell me, Caitlin, I am the worst person at keeping a secret.
Yes.
So I will tell you, our boss, Nick Lee, does not tell me anything until the very last minute. We've gone as late as like November 27th before.
No.
We have started, I believe, as early as November 1st. Okay. So it could run the gamut in between. I do think personally this year it's like the one thing that brings everybody together is this music. Christmas music just has a way of bringing you back to childhood, to easing all the stress. And I hope you'll join us so that we can all just kind of come back together again a little bit, you know?
I have to say, today would be inappropriate to start Christmas music, even tomorrow, because we're going to be in the 80s. Just saying. But how long are we holding on to this holiday music? How long does it last until?
Well, we've gone back and forth with that as well. Some people would love it to go to February or April. It just depends on how they're feeling. By the way, though, I don't know who it is. They probably consult with you, but they've always seemed to figure out the perfect weather moment to switch. I will tell you that. I don't know. I have been driving on the highway and we'll switch and all of a sudden snow comes down. So whoever it is very good at it.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so do you have another Christmas announcement coming tomorrow morning?
So the Christmas announcement tomorrow is that Mariah Carey will be on at 8:20.
Okay.
She will officially tell you when the music is starting. So today all day you get to guess until 11:59 for your chance at 1,000. And then tomorrow at 8:20, Mariah Carey will officially tell you when the Christmas music is starting.
So that's the surprise, the Mariah Carey. That's a big surprise. Okay, so Melissa, personally, just because I'm curious, when do you set up your Christmas decorations?
Look, I've already started. My microphone looks so good. I'm the kind of person, I love to decorate early because I feel like it's the anticipation. Like my Halloween decorations, the second I saw like one leaf fall from the tree, they were up.
Yes.
I'm just all about, you have to make it last. Plus, it's not too convenient to get out there with your ladder and do everything. So you might as well set it up as early as possible.
When
That's
it's
just
not
me.
quite as cold. No, I'm with you. Literally Friday is Christmas at our house. The day after Halloween, it's Christmas. We don't have enough time to have the beautiful lights out. I'm with you. We gotta.
It's the anticipation. Remember that. Being a kid and waiting for Santa, waiting for these things to come. So put them out, put them up. Nobody minds.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much for your time this morning. If you want to sign up for this contest, head to 939lightfm.iheart.com.
Yeah, I was just enjoying some Ms. Pac-Man, taking me back here to my introduction to video games back in the day. But of course, they became so much more sophisticated. And this exhibit, Insert Coin, which is on the campus of the College of DuPage, gives us the whole evolution. Justin Whitty is the curator of the museum, the Cleve Carney Museum here. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us a little bit about the transition. We talked about these older games, but Midway Games takes this into a whole new level eventually.
Yeah, Midway really took the game from a very pixelated, basic puzzle into a much more complex, realistic representation of everyday life that allowed for the creation of much more interesting storylines and eventually the creation of some of the most iconic games in the history of video games.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat certainly among those. What made that so unique at the time?
So Mortal Kombat was unique because they filmed actual people fighting in different moves and presented them on the game in a very realistic manner. So it really excited players, but it also started a conversation about how games should be rated and who should be allowed to play what games.
Right. It almost was like you had a little movie playing in your in your home. And then with the sports world, these games take off again.
Absolutely. So Midway was one of the first companies to license with a professional sports league, and they created NBA Jam, which is the first arcade game to collect 1 billion quarters. And what's unique about that is they had to figure out how to capture the likeness of all these NBA players from the 1990s and put them in one game.
It really is interesting, and as successful as Midway Games was, Insert Coin, this exhibit really looks at the fall, the crash. What happened?
Well, everyone got arcades in their homes, right? Everyone got these home consoles, and it became very expensive to compete with these increasingly advanced home consoles that also changed what people expect from their games. So now when people play, they expect hours of entertainment, no longer these quick competitions that Midway was so great at creating.
So if people come here to the exhibit, they can actually play these games and hear the full story.
Absolutely. There's a great story to tell, even if you don't love video games, but there are 16 playable games for those of you who do.
Okay, great. Once again, the Cleve Clarney Museum on the campus of the College of DuPage. Justin Whitty, thank you so much for talking to us. You'll want to pay it a visit. Back to you guys now in the studio.
This has been your Fox 32 Week in Review. See you around next week. Want to know Chicago politics? Listen to Paris.
Elections, conventions, corruption. There's a lot to get to.
Paris Schutz, the most trusted name in Chicago politics,
Making sense of the issues that impact all of our lives.
is on Fox Chicago.
I'm Paris Schutz, and I get to cover politics in the world's most fascinating political city.
Find Paris on air on fox32chicago.com and streaming on Fox Local.
Let's get started.
Discover Chicago's hidden gems and untold tales.
If you look up, odds are you're seeing our work.
They have such an intense and fierce look when they swoop down to grab a fish.
3, 2, 1, go.
Fox 32's photographers share the stories they've captured with you.
Fountain jet shoots up about 150 feet. Our designers, the sky is their canvas.
See Chicago through their unique lens. Streaming now at Fox 32 on Fox Local. Download Fox Local on these streaming platforms and start. Discover Chicago's hidden gems and untold tales.
If you look up, odds are you're seeing our work.
They have such an intense and fierce look when they swoop down to grab a fish.
3, 2, 1, go.
Fox 32's photographers share the stories they've captured with you.
Fountain jet shoots up about 150 feet. Our designers, the sky is their canvas.
See Chicago through their unique lens. Streaming now at Fox 32 on Fox Local. Download Fox Local on these streaming platforms and start watching.
Fox 32, home of the draft. I am so excited. Training camp. The fans. The Fox 32 sports team. Fox 32, your home of the Bears.
Want to know Chicago politics? Listen to Paris.
Elections, conventions, corruption. There's a lot to get to.
Paris Schutz, the most trusted name in Chicago politics,
Making sense of the issues that impact all of our lives.
is on Fox Chicago.
I'm Paris Schutz, and I get to cover politics in the world's most fascinating political city.
Find Paris on air on fox32chicago.com and streaming on Fox Local.
Let's get started.